Hello and welcome to part 1 of the FA18 Hornet build from Kinetic in 1/48 scale. Now, I was asked if I would do a build for our skipper, Simon Hornby. Hello, Simon. To show our appreciation for all that he does for our squadron, and our squadron is VFA 202, the Black Knights. 'Tis but a scratch. So I said, yeah, of course I will. And it is an absolute pleasure that I actually got to do this build for Simon Hornby. Now, Simon does do an awful lot for the squadron. Organises the maps, helps with mission planning, and he does throw his wisdom my way whenever I ask, because he's like that. He is an absolute legend, and not only myself, but he does help an awful lot of people on the squadron. Now, everything you're going to see in the next series of 5 videos is DCS based, i.e. the livery, the loadouts, the weathering and everything else. All this you can have on DCS World. The actual squadron that we fly with, the Black Knights, we actually fly on Wednesdays, Fridays and sometimes Sunday nights. The Wednesdays we treat as a training night where we can learn different things. If we're not too sure on a certain aircraft and what procedure to use, we can train and use it for our Friday nights, which is mission nights, where we will spend between 3 and 4 hours on a map, on a missions, and just trying to do the best we can, and also having a bit of a laugh at my expense. Now, not just me, but we have a really good laugh, and yeah, great bunch of blokes. And I am putting the actual link for the YouTube videos that we do make, or Steel makes, and also the Discord. So please, by all means, pop in, say hello. We are a nice bunch, and yeah, you will enjoy yourselves. Now, I'm not a regular pilot for the FA18. I take to the skies in the A10-2C, the F-16 and any helicopter I can get my hands on. But I have to say, the FA18 Hornet is a lovely aircraft to fly. It does everything that I ask it to. The weapons, the systems, although simplistic in a way, they are lovely to use. And if there is one thing that I do love to do actually on DCS in a Hornet, is to shoot myself off an aircraft carrier. That is one of my highlights, and I just love it. So strap yourselves in and let's go for the actual build. So please join me for this video and the next, and I'll see you in the skies. So then, let's crack on with the build. So one thing you'll find is when you actually do get the kit and you open up the box, you do get quite a lot of plastic for your money. Now with this you get a set of instructions like you hope you would, a load of decals, a load of call out sheets and all the different liveries which you can do, and yeah, there are quite a few and they are rather nice. On top of that, as you'll see, you'll get the actual main kit, and yeah, it is absolutely packed and you'll get all the weapons that you need roughly, but the actual quality of it is, yeah, it is very good. And like I've said in the previous part of this video, it is probably the best Hornet in 1/48 scale on the market. Right then, we will start as per the instructions. Now, the actual cockpit is made up of multiple parts. You get absolutely everything you need. Rudder pedals, control column, instrument panel, side consoles, you get the lot. And it is very nicely detailed. The fit is exceptional. It is all a case of just popping the part where you need to put it, dab of glue, and away you go. I did elect to, well, glue pretty much everything in first and then actually paint it. The ejector seat, however, I didn't use the actual kit one. I actually splashed out and I actually got a 3D printed one, a resin one, and the detail far outweighs the kit. It is a beautiful piece of cast resin. So then, once everything was in, I proceeded to go straight for the actual priming of the cockpit. Now, you do have designated primers in this hobby, but for me, I go the cheaper way and I just use a Tamiya acrylic. And for this, I'm using XF1, which is black. So once the priming was actually over, I went on to spraying the grey, as in light ghost grey. Now I use Hataka's orange lime paints, which are lacquers, and they are extremely good. All you got to do is thin them down slightly with their own Hataka's thinners, and away you go. Now, like I said, I've used a light ghost grey, and in a moment I shall be using two other ones, which will be the dark ghost grey and light aircraft grey. Now, the reason why I've done this is the fact that I wanted some highlights and some lowlights. So again, the top, which will be the aircraft grey, or light aircraft grey shall I say, will be on the top parts, and in the crevices in the bottom they will be the dark ghost grey. So when we were airbrushing, obviously it gets to a point where, well, you can't go any further with the airbrush, so you go for the paintbrush. Now, these are Vallejo's white top paints, and they are acrylic, and they are extremely good because if you thin them and brush them right, you don't get any brush strokes, which is a major plus. Now, first, all I'm doing is I'm going over the instrument panels in black, and then I'll be going over with sky grey, just to bring out a bit more of the highlights, and also with the dry brushing. Now, dry brushing is an excellent way of picking out those raised details on the cockpit. So all you do is you get a minimal amount of paint actually on the paintbrush, you go over it and it just brings it out, and it gives you a bit more of a worn, weathered look. Now, just to give you a little bit more detail on the actual front instrument panel, what we're doing here is just using a clear green, which is a gloss, and just dipping a cocktail stick in and popping it on to where the MFDs are, and as you can see on the light there, it is lovely and shiny. So once that was done and I was happy, we went on to a slight wash with oil paints. Now with this, it's heavily diluted oil paint, and you'll just literally just tap in the actual part themselves and just let the oil paint go where it wants to. Now I normally just leave the oil paint just to dry off slightly, and then what I do is I go in with a clean brush and I'll dip in a bit of thinners, and I'll just go around and just manipulate the actual oil wash. Now you can take off or leave as much as you want, and it's basically it's your own ideas of how dirty the actual cockpit is going to be. Now for me personally, this is a well-used aircraft, so I did leave quite a lot of the oil wash in, but it is entirely up to you. You can take as much or as little off as you want. Now the oils which I use are from Abteilung, and normally I use a sepia or burnt sienna. Now it's entirely up to you. You could use those two or anything of your own choice. It is entirely up to you. But the good thing about this is the fact that you can go and look at reference pictures and actually make your decision yourself on how much or how little that you want to put in. But it is a good way to actually get the most out of your kit. Right then, ladies and gents, that is the cockpit complete. So we have gone from bare plastic to the finished article. Now it's all ready to be put into the actual main kit itself, and hopefully you'll agree that it's not looking too bad. So please join me on the next video for more building.